Welcome. My name is Sarah Berkovich, and I'm from Film Independent. Welcome to our virtual Filmmaker Tuesday. This is the last one of 2025. So very excited to continue the series that we've been doing on AI and filmmaking. We've had a range of experts come and talk to us and learn about all these different topics relating to AI in our industry. And so tonight we're going to be doing a tech talk about maximizing your reach and impact with AI with impact producer and CEO of Looky Looky Pictures, Annie Mercedes, who's here today. Welcome, Annie. All right. And so before we start, I want to just make sure that everyone knows we're going to have Q&A throughout. So if you have any questions as we're going through this, feel free to put them in the Q&A box and we will address them as we go. I think that covers it. Ani, would you like to do a little introduction, then take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me and everyone here. Welcome, welcome. Please share in the chat where you are, where you're joining us from. I'd love to see where you're at because we can't see each other through video. So please feel free to share in the chat anything about your film, how you're feeling today, an emoji maybe of how you're doing, and we will get started. So welcome everyone. This is maximizing the reach and impact of your film with AI. I see. Sarah, can you?
I
Uh,
just it's
okay,
been
wonderful.
enabled.
Thank you. Thank you. The chat is now enabled. Kana joining from South Bend, Indiana. Li Lilia from Hawaii. Wonderful, wonderful. And if you see me look off screen, it's because I have a second monitor. So that is what that's about. But I am here with you 100%. So, you should be able to see my screen. Tell me in the chat if you put a yes in the chat if you can see my screen. Wonderful, thank you. See folks joining from everywhere, Reno, LA, Venice Beach, New York. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. All right, well, let's get started and jump in. I'm gonna have questions for you throughout, and again, put questions in the Q&A box or in the chat, and I'll have points where I stop and answer your questions. So again, this is maximizing the reach and impact of your film with AI. We're going to be here for about 60 minutes. And yes, this presentation was generated with the help of AI. So with that, let's get started. The goal of this workshop and your mission is to stay curious and to be an explorer. Think of this as a scientific experiment. We're going to be exploring. I'm going to show you two demos, and we're going to dive in, and I want this to be as helpful to you as possible. So my goal is for you to get clarity so that by the end of these 60 minutes, you have a better grasp and a clearer understanding of AI and how it can fit into your workflow, and get at least one thing, a new tool, a new insight that is going to be helpful to you in your work. So I will ask you at the end, what's the one thing that you learned or a new insight or a new tool that's going to be helpful to you? So our agenda for today, I'm not even going to read that. Let's just jump in because we have limited time, and I'm going to go pretty quick because you are going to get the recording and it's going to be posted online, so you can always go back. So as we dive in, buckle up, get excited, share anything that comes to mind in the chat, and we're going to get going. So my name is Annie Mercedes. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an impact architect at Looky Looky Pictures. That means I do all the things. Okay, I've been doing this for 10 years now. We're going on to a decade. We have helped small film teams connect the power of film with the power of people. We've proudly served over 1,000 filmmakers worldwide, both doc and narrative. And this year, I organized and hosted the Film Impact and AI Summit. It was a day-long summit with multiple speakers from various fields. Sarah here at Film Independent attended that and asked me to come and speak to you all. So I am very honored about that. We guided filmmakers through tech tutorials, accountability frameworks, and more. So with that, enough about me. I want to hear from you. Tell me how you're feeling about AI right now. So you can pop in your answer in the chat. It can be multiple choice. It can be more than one thing. So how are you feeling? A, like a pro, you got this. You're using AI every day, all the time, and you feel like it's serving you well in your workflow. B, you're curious but overwhelmed. C, so that should be a C, excited but unsure how to use it, and D, avoiding it entirely. So there's no right answer. All perspectives are welcome. I see C, B. Okay, lots of B. Curious but overwhelmed, as well as excited but unsure how to use it. All right, you're in the right place. Yes. Yep, AI makes mistakes too. That's right. Thank you, Steve. Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so curious but overwhelmed and excited but unsure how to use it. So let's see how you feel by the end of this. Remember, my goal is to get you to have at least one tool or one insight that's going to give you clarity. So before I dive in, I want to make the distinction between impact and outreach. What is impact and what is outreach? So outreach is getting to as many people as possible. Impact is about getting to the right people. So outreach asks how can we get this to as many people as possible? Impact asks how can we get this in front of the right people? And the right people is those who can use your film as a tool to strengthen their work. Um, Impact isn't about how many people see your film. It's about who sees it and what change comes as a result of that. Okay. So, if we put those things together, if we combine them strategically, then we can really ramp up both impact and outreach and have as much impact as possible. Okay, so that we get to as many of the right people as possible. So, the right question to ask is how can we strategically get to as many of the right people as possible? That's what I want you to have in your mind as you think about impact and AI, because it can help us amplify that and go faster and have a wider reach. So let's see what that actually looks like. As we get into this, I also want you to think about grounding yourself before we touch any AI tools. I'm going to give you a little bit of orientation and grounding and a very brief overview of how AI works, and then we'll get into some demos. So strategically, I want you to keep in mind that AI does not create impact or whatever it is you're trying to do with AI. It's a tool. Strategy builds impact, clarity, your own intelligence. Okay, so AI without strategy is like cooking with every ingredient in the kitchen, but not having a recipe. Okay, I want you to have clarity around what you're asking. Why are you asking it to do something? What's the purpose of that? So really asking yourself questions first is the starting point. This is where filmmakers end up, or anyone using AI without any strategic intention, end up with a mess instead of a meal, and the recipe is the strategy. AI just helps us cook the food faster, essentially. Okay. The most important part of AI, therefore, is your actual intelligence. AI is a tool, not a replacement for your artistic vision or human discernment. Like any tool, it's only as powerful as the human behind it. So, like with any technology, you have to bring your values, your strategy, your actual intelligence to the tool. Used well, it can amplify your capacity to tell important stories and create meaningful change. Okay. Um, I have one little example here from AI. I was looking up something on impact. I Googled it and Gemini came up with myself. So I came up in the search results. So you have three intelligence today. You have artificial intelligence, your actual intelligence, and my intelligence. That's triple AI. I couldn't help it. It was too good. It was a low-hanging fruit. And the intelligence, AI. That's what you have today too. Okay, so with that, I want to give you a quick orientation on how AI actually works. So um, it takes patterns and it creates predictions from those patterns. So unlike traditional software that has an explicit rule and it's programmed to come up with that rule based on the programming and the logic within that program, like calculators or formulas in a spreadsheet, AI looks at patterns and then it takes rules from the patterns that it recognizes. So it processes patterns really, really quickly. Think of like Netflix recommendations, Google search autocomplete, even GPS. Um, those are ways, well, GPS that predicts something about you or your patterns or in the ways that you interact with it. Like you're looking for parking or something like that, and it tells you that there's parking up ahead based on your driving patterns. So, in other words, it doesn't think. Instead, it learns from data. So there's data that's being input, like text. It takes all of that text and it predicts the next word in that text and generates the output. So it's pattern recognition, not understanding. Here's an example. So if you give it an input of happy birthday, think of all the times that happy birthday has been publicly written into the internet, and you'll get a huge data set. It'll look at that data set and it will predict what comes after. It'll learn that happy birthday to usually comes with happy birthday to you. So the output it would give you is happy birthday to you. Okay. So all of the data set, which is basically the entire internet, more or less, depending on which tool you're using, looks at that pattern and spits out what it predicts from that. So what does that mean? It sees the phrase happy birthday to millions of times. It recognizes the word you and it predicts the most likely word. It recognizes the language pattern and guesses what comes next. It doesn't know facts. It models language. Okay. Um, in the case of large language models, which are like ChatGPT, Perplexity, which we're going to look at, um, tell me in the chat if you are using any AI that you're actually using, not ones that you've heard of, ones that you're actually using or have used, say, in the last week. Put the name of that in the chat. Put the name of that tool in the chat. If you use ChatGPT, Perplexity, something else, Claude, yep. Those are ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, Sonora, Notebook, Cloud, Perplexity, Gemini. Okay, so a lot of them are being OpenAI. Yes, a lot are large language models, so they're looking at language. So we're actually going to use Perplexity and ChatGPT today, and one more called Gamma, which is a little bit different. But for the purposes of this, what matters is that it recognizes language. That means that it reflects any existing bias in language online. So, because it's pulling from what's been publicly published online, so it reflects existing biases as well. It's great for pattern-based reasoning, summarizing, drafting, ideating. It's like a brainstorming tool, but it's not a replacement for verified research or, of course, lived experience. Artificial intelligence can assist you, but your actual intelligence needs to decide what's important. You have to make choices around this. Just like spell check is a great example of this. Spell check, autocorrect, the typo that you just saw in this presentation, that's all part of what human discernment is needed for, right? And that was me not catching that, right? But the rest of it, I'm glad that that was there because that's an actual example of why human discernment is important and how AI can also be fallible, of course. So I want you to think of AI as a collaborator, not as a replacement to your artistic vision. It's like a team member that doesn't sleep and helps you draft and ideate, but it's just direction and guidance. Okay. So any questions about that, drop them in the chat. Um, give me well, I can't see you. Usually I do, give me a thumbs up if this is helpful. Give me a 1 if this is helpful. Okay, a few ones. Give me a 2 if you're like, oh, I already knew this. And it's okay. I want to gauge where you're at, so please be honest. A 1 is like, okay, this is helpful. 2, I already knew this. Okay, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, we're about even more or less. Okay, great. All right, so let me move on from this. Okay. So here, I'm going to now jump into the demo. Okay, we're going to demo. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to demo three different tools for you using a made-up film. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at audience research um, and also creating a pitch deck. Okay, so this is our made up documentary film. It's called Fearless Flow. It's a feature-length doc about dance. All of this is made up. It is not a real film. Um, and here are our demos. We're going to look at audience and messaging research as well as some partner research and creating a pitch deck in Gamma. So for the first demo, we're going to compare results from Perplexity and ChatGPT. Now, I saw many of you are already using ChatGPT, but maybe not Perplexity. What I want to do is I want to see how the two of those behave given the same prompt so that you can see what are the strengths and weaknesses of each. As we're doing this, I want you to ask yourself strategic questions. What feels generic in each of them? What feels promising and something that you can use? What needs strategy to decide what is relevant based on what is given to us? Okay, let me stop there. Questions, um, drop any questions in the chat that you might have, or let us know. Have you used either of these tools for audience research and messaging? Give me a one for yes and two if no. So have you used either Perplexity or ChatGPT for, and a two is a no. Okay, we have ones, twos, one, a one. Okay, great. Awesome. So a few more twos. So a few no's and some yeses. Okay, great. So now we're going to do this together. So before I jump in, I want you to be mindful that we already have certain things in place. Um, we have a log line and a synopsis. We have some themes, the format, the genre, the status of the film. All of that is work that you would have done beforehand um, in getting to this point because you're going to need to feed it information. Um, so as um, we look at this prompt is the instructions that we're giving the AI in order for it to recognize, remember it's predicting language, recognize what we're saying, and based on what we're giving it, the ingredients we're giving it, it's going to give us some information back based on those patterns. So the more specific you can be, and the more direct and intentional, therefore strategic about your prompt, the richer and more useful the information is that you're going to get back. So I'm going to look at this prompt and I want to show you the parts of it. So the first part is I'm working on a feature documentary called Fearless Flow about dance as a tool for healing and care. So I'm giving it some information here that it's the length of it, the title, some of the themes. So that's already in the first sentence. Who are the most relevant audiences for this film beyond dance fans? So this is a question I'm giving it. I'm asking of it. So this is what I'm giving it some direction. Additional direction, research organizations, movements, cultural spaces where dance intersects with healing, mental health, community building, or identity, include communities, institutions, and potential partners. So even asking this of it is again something that you would need to strategically know how to frame this. I want organizations, movements, cultural spaces, etc. I'm asking it exactly what I want back. Give me exact links to organizations who might use this film to strengthen their work and outline the connection each may find to the film. So this is very impact specific. It's not just give me as many as possible. Give me organizations who can use it to strengthen their work. Even better, if they are member or chapter based, so they can host screenings of films. Again, very putting together outreach and impact. And now, the synopsis basically about the film. Um, Now, Prompt engineering is something you might have heard of with AI. It's all about giving it the strategic instructions so you get back something really useful. Okay. AI is going to give us options, but strategy is going to help us choose these options. From these options, what is useful to us. Okay. If there are any questions, drop them in the chat. If this is helpful, drop an emoji, your favorite emoji. Usually I would have you do this or interact visually in some way, but here we are. You can do that if for yourself on your end. Awesome. Sunglass emoji, kind of. Thank you very much. All right, so here are the two tools we're going to use. We're going to use Perplexity and ChatGPT. ChatGPT, many of you said you're already familiar with it, so I'm going to start with Perplexity. So Perplexity is different from ChatGPT in that it gives you back more links and is more of a research tool than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is more like a writing tool, right? And I'm referring to all of these as tools because that's what they are. So Perplexity is more of a research tool. So let's see. Let's take a little poll. Which do you think will be more useful to us, Perplexity or ChatGPT? Put a P for Perplexity and a C for ChatGPT. So P, okay. Oh, P, okay. Let's see what happens. Oh my goodness, overwhelming. Perplexity, you gotta show up. All the pressure's on you. Ready? So here's the prompt. We're gonna hit go. And it is searching, searching, searching. While it does that, oh no, let me do one at a time. Let me not get ahead of myself. So here's what it's giving us back. It's still searching. So the film, so as you can see, pre-AI perhaps, this would have been very different. This would have been looking up Google, of course, seeing what comes up there, looking at organizations that have uh, members and chapters that are connected to the themes of this film. So this obviously makes it much, much faster to do this research. So this is researching potential organizations and partners who would be the core of your impact campaign or the core audience that you would reach out to. So here we have, it's giving us some information, opening this, but it gave us core audience clusters. So dance movement therapy organizations, Latinx organizations, mental health, gender justice, domestic violence, healing justice, community arts hubs. And then within each of those clusters, we have organizations that we would pitch. So that's a whole different demo, but it would be organizations that we would look at and say, is this an organization that's a fit for my film? So we have a nice extensive list here, which can be downloaded, copied, rewritten, shared out, and the sources to that. So if I click links at the top, I can see the links laid out nicely. I can click view more by signing in and seeing those. And then it'll also pull images which aren't tremendously useful in this particular case, but they might be if you're doing research on something visual. Okay, so this is what we got from Perplexity. Now let's go to ChatGPT. Let's see how that is different from what we got from Perplexity. And then we'll compare the two. While it runs this prompt, something to look into is prompt engineering. So that's something we did cover in our Impact in AI Summit. I went through different prompts and the breakdown of all of the sections and how to design a prompt so that you can get more information back that's most useful. So you can get our Impact and AI Summit replay. I'll give you information for that at the end. Okay, let's see what it's generated. Here's a research back list of relevant audiences, organizations, and cultural spaces. So it's repeating back what I told it, right? Organizations, movements, cultural spaces. And we see some of that language echoed, again, the pattern recognition. So here we have a list of organizations. They're not clustered. Well, they are. We have the first cluster is theatrical movements, community health and healing through dance, what they do, the connection, so that's helpful, and then the potential use. So how many did this give us? So it gave us 10 organizations. So let's compare these two now. Now we have output from both. We have the organizations, we have some connections, we have the potential use of the film. That's helpful. Here we have a bit more of, I like these clusters up top. I like the zooming out and then drilling into each one. And from these, we can now get a little bit more, either drill down and get more specific and ask more of it, or see what it's prompting us to do. Target outreach language, screening kits, partnership tiers. I would want to ask something. I have a question in mind, but first, you tell me. Which do you prefer? Which output do you prefer and would be most useful to you? Put a P for perplexity or a C for ChatGPT. I have one P came in, one vote for perplexity, and then we'll use that one to drill deeper. P. All right. Perplexity is the winner. Rounds of applause, perplexity. Wonderful. So let's drill more deeply into this. And if you have questions, of course, drop them in the chat or thoughts, curiosities, emojis, just high fives, knock knock jokes, all of it is welcome. Um, well, great question. So AR Nicholas asked, that giving all pos do you find that giving all possibly relevant info in one prompt is the best way to get accurate information? Is there a sort of word limit that's ideal and how detailed? Okay, great question. So it depends on what you're asking. There are times where I have ex given it like a 3-page prompt because I have that much detail that I want to share or that I need. What I want back is exactly this one thing. You can you can attach things too. So I'll sometimes attach a PDF and say, I want you to analyze this PDF. Tell me X, Y, and Z about it. Find other relevant information that's related to that PDF, and I want it in this format. Here is the instructions for the funding grant. Here's all of the information about my film. I will give it a lot of information if what I want is really specific. But if what I want is really broad, then I would give it a broader prompt. But honestly, this is probably the shortest I would go, the least amount of context, because the broadest, and this is in our Impact and AI Summit, so that's what I'm thinking about. The broadest would be something like this. Just these 2 sentences. I'm working on a featured doc. Here's what it's about. Who are the relevant audiences? That would give you something, and you can absolutely start there. And when you give it less prompts, that's called a shot. So a 0 shot is when you give it nothing. Like I'm working on a feature documentary. Uh, Give me information about a relevant audience. Like you're not giving it any context. Like tell me something about audiences in documentary. That would be like 0 shot. A 1 shot would be um, maybe this part. I'm working on a feature film about dance as a tool for healing. Tell me about audience for this film. That would be really broad. So this is where the strategy comes in, right? So you have to decide, you as the actual intelligent human using the tool, how much or how little do you give it based on what you want back? So when it comes to researching audience and organizations, I want links, right? So I told it I want links. I want you to find organizations that are relevant. I want you to give me organizations, movements, cultural spaces. I want you to tell me member and chapter-based organizations. So I know what I want because strategically I know that this is what I need for an impact campaign. Great question. Thank you for the question, AR. Any other questions, please jump in. Now let's ask it a follow-up question. Strategically, put on your impact crown and decide what would you ask it based on this. So you're designing the impact campaign for this film. You want to move forward with this outreach. What would be a great next follow-up? So it gave us some here. Which community health organizations focus on dance-based healing? Which survivor-led organizations run movement therapy? Okay. I wouldn't ask any of these. I would ask something different. Does anyone have thoughts? Or I can give you what I'm thinking, but I'm curious if you have thoughts and follow up to this. All right, I am not a magician with anyone in the audience, so I'm going to tell you what the magic trick is. The magic prompt, I would say, is I want to estimate the audience size. Okay, so given these results, estimate the size of this documentary's audience in the US. So now I'm kind of thinking like a distributor a little bit because I'm thinking about rights in terms of geographic specificity. What else can we add to this coming off of AR's question? Given these results, estimate the audience size for this audience's documentary in the US um, within the next 2 years and a breakdown of the 10 major cities that it would most, that it would have the most. I see your question, Steve, the cost of what? The whole campaign, each screening, get more specific like geography, okay. The likelihood of attracting a distributor, okay. The cost of an impact campaign, okay. We can ask that. We would want to be specific about what that impact entails. Is that a theatrical tour? Is it 3 months? Are we including a brain trust? Are we partnering with folks? Are we licensing things? Do we have distribution in place? These are some of the strategic questions and parameters that I would want to add to this. So I'm going to assume that we're going to go to 10 major cities that would have the most impact, reach, and relevant audience based on this research. How can I most easily expand the audience size? Great question, Graham. So this is what we're going to do. This is what I recommend. Start with estimating your audience size. So let's see what comes up. It's going to give us an estimate. And I would say, okay, so here's a nice little range, 100,000 to 300,000 views across festivals, community screenings, classrooms, streaming, high concentration. So this is great. So me as an impact producer, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wonderful. Now I have targets and I have markets. So these are the markets that I would look at. And what distributor would be the best partner in terms of theme impact? That's a good one. I'm going to copy that. That'll be our next question. So me as an impact producer, thank you, Temi. I apologize on pronunciation if that's incorrect. Oh, this is great. This is the stuff that will really help you create parameters around your film. Because remember, it's not about getting to as many people as possible. Really create goals around this. So one of the things I have filmmakers I work with do is exactly this research. And in our strategic template, they write out a good, better, and best goal. Okay, so this would be your best goal, getting to 100% of your audience. The range of 100 to 300,000. I would want to make this specific. I'm going to say 200,000 just in the middle of that range. That would be your best, like top tier. Your mid tier would be half that, like 100,000, and then half that, 50,000. So we have 50, 100, and 200K. That's what I'm going for, and that's what I would design a campaign around. Those numbers and these markets. Okay. Give me a one or an emoji if you're with me. Give me a question if you have a question. Okay, I see a question in the chat. Do you find the output generates generally accurate? Okay, wonderful. Okay, lots of ones. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the check-in. So great question, Claudia. So this is where human discernment comes in. You have to decide if it's accurate based on the information it's giving you, looking at the source links. So this is something, again, this is why Perplexity is used more as a research tool and is a bit more accurate. You have to look into these sources and see if these sources are accurate. Use your journalistic integrity to vet this information. For the purposes of kind of broad brushstrokes, we're not getting into like super duper accuracy. It's more of a brainstorming exercise. That's why this is more of an assistant to help you. So this is helpful. It has in here some of these sources cited within each market, super helpful. Um, and then it gives us some guidance. Prioritize a premiere and an anchor screening in one of these cities. Okay, build chapter studio-based partnerships. Oh, I already want to create this campaign. I'm ready. Does anyone have a film about dance? Please. Please tell me. Okay, the next question that Timo asked, what let's ask the next question. I do. Okay, Claudia, hit me up. Reach out to us. On I'll give you resources at the end where you can contact me. Okay, so what distributor would be the best partner in terms of theme, impact, outreach, profit, and geographic scope? Okay. Also, and I think it was AR who asked, estimate a budget for distribution or impact distribution for this. Now, I want to pause here for a second and say one of the limitations of AI is numbers right now, depending on when you're watching this, but doing mathematical formulas is not the strong suit. It's really the pattern in language, not the pattern in numbers. So there is a big limitation there when it comes to large language models. So the budget here, this is again a strategic thing that you would need to know when using these tools. So this is something I would really take with a grain of salt, but let's see what it gives us. And I'm asking it to do a lot right now. But it's fine. I'm going to see what happens. I see another question come in. Do you ever try to identify individual figures and leaders in communities to contact that would have an in with, oh, yes, within the communities they serve? Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are other AI tools that help you do that. Actually find like the contact information for people at these organizations. That would be like a next step after this. Yeah. Good insight and instinct there, Kana. All right. For this, maximizing impact, I'm going to say screenings. I would want like special events, impact activations, and um, speakers, panelists. Okay, so this is my impact brain. Sorry if I like stop because I'm like thinking. So speakers, panelists, participant. Okay, film participant, care and compensation. So this is where your discernment would have to come in. How are you caring for your film participant? Do you have compensation with them or not, etc. Travel, honorariums, um, um, social media and marketing, publicity, right? These are just like off the top of my head. Okay. So I'm just, while it does this, I'm looking at the chat. Jonathan asked, can you ask it to also provide references for the numbers to try to find out how legit estimates are? Yes, absolutely. That would be a great thing to add with the prompt that we said right before that. Dan says, what tool helps with contact info? There are a few of those. I'm not going to demo those now, but let me see if we have some time at the end for that. AR asks, have you had success with AI drafting legal documents for films like a Form C, or are the outputs just too generic to be workable? It depends. So with something like that, you can draft it, but I would still have an entertainment lawyer or your lawyer look at it. But you can definitely use it for drafting. Okay. A mission-aligned distributor plus educational social justice distributor or strong DIY hybrid strategy will serve this film best. A realistic impact outreach campaign for the next 2 years, a range of about 150 to 400, depending on the ambition and travel. So this is a huge range. From my experience, this is accurate. Again, because it says this, depending on the ambition. Um, so with something like this and with any goal that you make, I strongly suggest that you create a good, better, and best case scenario. So as your impact campaign rolls out, what would the good be, better, and best case scenario so that you have some parameters? Maybe the 150,000 is the good, or even the $50,000 version is the good for your impact campaign. So it's just like a film. If you work within the budget that you have and you do the best with that you can with that budget, same thing for impact. Okay. So here we have, okay, specific distributors, why, their thematic fit, their impact and scope. This is, um, I think this is a good starting point when it comes to distributors. I don't see any streamers, so I would want to go beyond that as well. I think there are different, these are all like hybrid models where you're using the distributor as your main anchor for distribution. I would still want to use festivals as distributors. I'd use partners as distributors. These folks themselves, right, who we research, that's the core of impact, actually getting to your audience, because the distributor is a bridge between you and the audience. Just get right to the audience. Just go right to the distributor. I'm sorry, right to the partner. So partner-centered distribution is my primary focus for impact. And then we would get into some of these more traditional, clustered educational distributors for the most part is what it's giving us. But a great list nonetheless. And then some budget parameters, impact producer, screening support, panelists, participant care, travel lodging, community partners, marketing, design. There's nothing here around accessibility, around translation, around what's it called? A watch party kit, around a platform to stream this on if you do any sort of DIY or hybrid distribution. So there are some things missing, which strategically, again, I'm coming at this from the experience of seeing tons of these, but this is still a great start and a good way to kind of brainstorm. I'm just going to look at the time. We have about 15, 14 minutes left. I'm going to pause there and I see some questions came in. So let me just look at that. So Jeffrey asked a few questions. What tools and platforms exist to help manage the release of the film in theaters or digitally? So what do you mean by manage? Do you mean actually do work for you? You would have to code and create an AI agent to do the work. What platforms or tools support the release of impact films? Sorry if my question shows up twice. I can't see. Okay, no worries. Thank you for asking your question. Um, so it depends on what the support is. There's tools for everything. I wanted to give you a starting point tool, like Kinema and Gather. So those are not AI tools, those are platforms for screening, which you can use AI to assist you in certain things that you would need within those platforms. Claudia asked, you'd mentioned the pitch deck. Which tool would you use to create ideas for the pitch deck? Wonderful segue. I promise I did not plant that. Thank you, Claudia, for asking that. So let's switch to the next demo. I wish we could keep going with this, and this was super exciting. So thank you for that. Let's go to demo two, where we're going to look at a pitch deck. Do you recommend we create a custom LLM to our own film and a person agent? If you want, I don't think it's necessarily something that you have to do. Um, I think it would help actually with the production part. So a custom LLM is basically a, a custom AI chatbot just for your film. You can do that, but you don't have to create a custom LLM for that. Um, I don't think you need that much customization. But if it's something you're interested in and excited about, do that. Um, Oh, Jeff, thank you, Jeffrey, for clarifying your question. You said, sorry, I meant to ask the AI to identify those platforms and tools. Yes, you can ask it that. So you would simply ask research platforms and tools for me to have a hybrid distribution strategy with my film, such as Kinema, Gather, etc. Now, in our um, in our accelerator, in our guided campaign accelerator, we have a list that helps you identify. We have like 30 tools, 30 platforms that we have researched, and a matrix to help you strategically decide which one is for you. Because even if you have a list of 30, it's the strategic part where you're deciding, do I need this to be a live broadcast? Does it have an open and close window? Is it ticketed? Do I need to see everyone when I'm broadcasting this or showing this? What's the limit to how many people I can have on a platform? Is it going to stream for 30 days and then be gone? So there are all those decisions you would make. Even if you had that list of every platform on the planet, you would still need to understand your requirements and parameters with any research that you do. Um, okay, I see questions coming in, so that's wonderful. The last question I answered was at 9:18, 9:17. So I'm gonna go to switch gears into the pitch deck because I really want you to see this, and then I'll go back to questions. So the pitch deck. This is a tool called Gamma that I'm gonna show you. Give me a 1 if you have used Gamma, give me a 2 if you have not. Two. Okay, awesome. So yay, new tool. I wanted to do a little bit of tools you maybe have seen or heard of or used, and then ones that you haven't. So this is a fun one. I'll show you now how AI can help us express the film in a pitch deck and not decide what goes in it. So the tool that I used for this presentation is Gamma. So as I look at this, as we go through this, I want you to ask yourself, how did it structure the slides? What works visually? What still needs human judgment? Here's our prompt. It's a little bit shorter and it includes this as well. Create a pitch deck for the film. And again, the synopsis. This is the tone I want. I want intimate, vibrant, embodied, hopeful. The audience includes dancers, health advocates, cultural organizations. So this one is a little bit more broad than the last one, but I'm still giving it direction. Okay. So I'm going to copy this prompt. I'm going to go into Gamma. I'm going to create. So this is a tool for creating presentations. I can paste text, I can import, I can remix. I'm just going to generate something completely new. There's my prompt. And I'm going to click Edit Prompt. And I can edit it here. I'm just going to go with all the defaults. You can always like play around with stuff and colors and whatnot. But I'm just going to go completely with just this prompt and ask it to generate um, uh, the presentation. So one question I just saw, are these free tools? All of these have a freemium version, so they hit a limit. They're free to use up until a limit. Um, so I wanted to give you things that you could play around with a little bit without having to pay right away. So it's doing its thing, and you can see it's coming together just based on that prompt. And this is something where the next step between the research that we did and this pitch deck would be to find contact information for folks, decide what's the strategic direction for you, make decisions about your goals and parameters and audience size, think about your distributors, if you have any on the table or not, and then strategically reach out to my sweet spot is a dozen, 1 dozen, 12 organizations with a deck that is strategically flows based on your goals. So let's see what it came up with. So here's the title. It made up all of these images. So a documentary about dance healing and the courage to move through life. Okay, it made up this language, this courage to move through life. So I would add here a documentary film. It's not an audio book, it's not a podcast, it's not something else, it's a documentary film. I would also add by and then like filmmaker. Um, so some human discernment here. So I kind of want to check in with you on give me a 1 if this was helpful to see. Give me a 2 if this was like, oh, whatever. Okay, I have a 1. Okay, wonderful. Oh, 1 with exclamations. All right. Then drop some emojis. I love the emojis if you want. Okay, so here, let's see let me go through the outline. A story of movement as medicine, what we're creating. Okay, helpful. This is a little bit too long. Um, why this story matters now. Okay, that's important. Mental health, isolation. I would want to add some data here, which we don't have. I would go to like Perplexity to get some of this data. Yay, the emoji with the hearts, the brain. Oh, love it. Thank you, thank you. Yes, it did this all from that short prompt. So imagine if you gave it more information. You'll get the prompt in the replay. So I'm going to go through the things that we won't get in the replay. So I want to focus. So meet our dancers. So this would be like your film participants. Um, what dance does that therapy can't? Okay, some information here. So of course you can replace this with stills from your film. Um, um, or more of like the tone, the visual elements, the font, your branding, right? There are different themes here. You can play with those. The dance floor is where we practice being seen in a society that, okay, you change it to your voice also. Um, it create our creative approach, so like the aesthetics. So as we're going through this, what is missing? Tell me what you think is missing. I want the human element here. Music as character, okay, that may or may not be part of the film. Impact and reach, okay, 5 million social dancers. Personality, character, okay. What else is missing? Real people, of course, yes. Real locations, voice, yes. It's generic. It's like robot speak. There's also a term which just when it got into Webster, it was like the word for 2025. Slop is the word. Okay. It's SLOP, slop. That means essentially like garbage that AI spits out. Okay, so there's a little slop speak in here that we would really want to change into the voice of a human. Okay, yes, what's the emotional call to action? Yes, standing ovation for that. Emotions. We're not here making policy papers. And I used to work on policy papers. I have a master's in public administration, and I have written the indices of policy papers. So I love policy, but I work in film for a reason. Emotions move us. No one cries over a policy paper. We move hearts, then we move minds. This is a work of art. This is something that is centered on emotion and feeling and connecting based on the human condition. You are creating a work of art. Show me that. That's not in here. So thank you for saying that. Um, how the filmmakers involved, that's exactly what I was thinking, Marty. How the filmmakers involved and came to the project. Where is there a director statement? Where is there an intention? Right? We don't have that. Now, it did pretty well based on the very short prompt, but you saw how much we needed to know strategically and feel based on our experiences, our discernment, our actual intelligence to really ramp this up and make it useful. Okay? The layout itself isn't visually engaging. It could be more visually engaging. Absolutely, of course. And also like the formatting here, right? Look at the dimensions of this one and then look at the dimensions of this one. If I PDF this, it's going to be a little bit wonky. So this is a great lesson in how we can use this as a brainstorming tool, but a tool, just like autocorrect for spelling. Right. So like just like spell check, you still look at the spelling and see if it's right, if it's what you want to say, and all of that. That's how these tools can be really used, but they do save us time and they are tools that we can leverage in our work. Okay. We're getting towards the end, so I'm going to stop there and want to do two things. I want to look back at some of your questions, and whoever asked for the prompt, here's the prompt. And I want to share other resources for you going forward. Um, so I stopped at 9:17. I'm just going to go back and see some of the questions. Do you recommend we create a custom LLM? Okay, I answered that. Um, custom LLM to keep my materials off the general internet. Okay, you could do it for that. You could do it for that. You can also, with all of these tools, there's ways that you can toggle off um, it using your information to populate the model. So I have that on all of my AIs. All the AI tools I use, I make sure that that's enabled. Jeffrey, question for later. How do you use AI collectively so that the LMs learn from all of our prompts and subsequently answer to become increasingly more useful? For example, if we start with the I'm building a strategy roadmap for the release of an impact film, that it learns to prompt us back with good questions, learning from all of us, case studies, yes. Okay, So this is a great question because it takes everything that's publicly available and whatever it's fed. So you have to decide, is this something that I want to give it for kind of like trying to eliminate bias, etc., versus I'm going to keep it off because it's confidential or I don't want it. I just don't want my data there. So that's where human discernment comes in your strategic approach to how you're going to use this. So that's a great question. But just like you're making decisions about the aesthetic direction of your film, you're the director of your film, you're also the director of its impact. Think of this as a team member. This is a tool. You would also give direction to a team member. No matter how great your editor is, you're still going to give the editor direction, just like any AI tool. No matter how good that tool is, you're the one who's directing it.